And, a lot of what was said was, despite the acquittal being a far gone conclusion, this was important for Democrats because they wanted the history books to be able to gaze at this moment with as much clarity as possible. Do you think they did enough to paint that picture such that 300 years from now, whoever looks back at this moment might really get even just the sentiment that was expressed about how devastating that attack was on January the 6th?
I think they succeeded in that. Well, 300 years is a long time, obviously, but certainly within the living the lifespan of people like you and me, there is going to be nobody in America who is going to be able to say with a straight face, "I didn't know, I wasn't aware." Now, where have we heard that phrase before? It's usually in fairly disreputable regimes. I can think of two: Nazi Germany and apartheid era South Africa, where people who lived through those times have fallen back on the "I never knew about" excuse. But this was played out on national television, nationally and internationally, in extraordinary detail. Every single moment of the event and the lead into it, all 4 years worth of the lead into it, were 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 let out right before us. And if you even turned on your television or flipped on your computer or listened to the radio or glanced at a newspaper, you could not miss what has been achieved by this. And the Democrats also, in the prosecuting role, what they called the House of Representatives managers, the people leading the presentation of the evidence and the charges, they found a new star in the person of Congressman Jamie Raskin, who led the group in his logic and in his marshaling of evidence and in his bringing together the strong personal feelings as well as all of that cold legal and analytical discussion in one package. It was an extraordinary performance to watch. By contrast, the Republican or the ex-president's lawyers um, delivered their case by obfuscation, by um, reshaping evidence. Let's be polite and say that they didn't outright lie. They reshaped the evidence rather significantly, resculpted it. And you have to give Jamie Raskin and his colleagues enormous credit for having made this case in the methodical, analytical, but warm way. And one other footnote to that, of course, is if you looked at that group of men and women, black and white, Hispanic American, um, they looked like America, and they looked like they were delivering the story that Americans themselves lived through by virtue of their very being. I mean, you had a man whose parents were Eritrean refugees. You had a woman, a black woman, who is now the non-voting delegate from the U.S. Virgin Islands, and on like that. And it was stunning to watch. It was great civic education, even if in the end, Donald Trump is now free to go as an ex-president. But we need to understand this. There are all kinds of criminal and civil proceedings that are going to be pursued against him in the state of New York, in the city of New York City, perhaps in Georgia, maybe in the District of Columbia, that is Washington, perhaps even by the families of the people who died in the riot. I mean,
Absolutely. And
somebody has to pay, perhaps.
part of the things, apologies for interrupting there, is to consider the political futures of those Republicans who decided not to toe the party line, so to speak, especially individuals like Jamie Herrera Butler, who was arguably at the center of the Democrats' call to have witnesses. And I guess only time will tell how her future pans out. Sadly, that's all the time we have for this leg of the discussion. Thanks so much for your insights. Really appreciate it. Brooke Spector is a U.S. Foreign policy expert and also the associate editor at the Daily Maverick. Always great getting your insights on this issue. Thanks very much indeed.